IBS and FODMAPs. It doesn't even sound like real words. What are we talking about today? Welcome to Talking with Docs. I'm Dr. Brad Weening.
I'm Dr. Paul Zalzal. What's a FODMAP?
We're gonna dive deep into what IBS is and what FODMAPs are and why these people with bloating and bowel changes are struggling so much, and maybe something that they can try to do to help it.
One of my guests told me I had IBS.
Why? Why did they tell you that?
I just said, around exams, might get some upset stomach and diarrhea and stuff and stress related. And she's like, you have IBS.
Yeah, and so stress is one of the potential causes of IBS. So IBS stands for Irritable Bowel Syndrome.
Yeah, it's that gut-brain
right, that it's real.
link that
it's not just in your head, it's definitely in your bowels.
It's in your gut and your head.
Yeah. So IBS is very, very common, like 5 to 10% of people in the world. Mm-hmm. The main kind of criteria for diagnosis are that you have bloating and pain after eating certain foods.
Yes.
And then you also have changes in your bowels, which ironically can be diarrhea. Mm-hmm. It can be change in frequency, can be constipation. So there just has to be a change in your bowels plus associated with pain and bloating.
And the other key feature of IBS is it's not a fatal disease. It's not inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis.
100% does not lead to that.
It doesn't lead to that. It doesn't lead to bowel cancer. It's not related.
Doesn't do damage to your bowels. Like having these episodes does not cause chronic damage to your colon.
Right. It's not like being celiac or anything like that where you can't do damage if you eat certain foods. It's mostly a symptoms thing. Right?
Yeah, and it's life-altering discomfort for a lot of these people.
Symptoms, really bad.
Like you talk with someone with IBS, they're like, I'm like Matt Damon in Born Identity. I'm noticing where all the bathrooms are, not where the exits are, who the people are. It's like, where are the toilets? Because that's how quick it can come on.
So serious, but not life-threatening.
Did you ever watch? Do you like the Born Identity?
Yes, there were 3 of them.
He's like, there's a guy over there, and he looks weak. He can handle himself. He's a fighter. He's got a knife. He's got a gun.
I can tell you the license plate numbers of all 6 cars outside. I can tell you that our waitress is left-handed, and the guy sitting up at the counter weighs 215 pounds and knows how to handle himself.
Yeah, so IBS people do that except for toilets.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like, well, okay, fine, I got IBS. There's lots of different treatments for it. That's the first thing, including some to work on the stress side. But when it comes to FODMAPs, we're trying to identify potential foods that irritate your specific GI tract.
That's what it is.
That's what the FODMAP is. It's a horrible name. FODMAP. So it stands for ferment. F is fermentable. O is so it's all about carbohydrates, actually, that's the thing to get out of the way. And that's why celiac disease is not the same. So celiac disease is related to gluten, which is actually a protein. So when you remove bread, it sometimes is because you have celiac disease, but you might feel better because it's removing some of the fructans.
Yeah. Oh, in the bread for
the
FODMAP.
Yeah, right.
So while the bread has both, gluten and these carbohydrates as well.
Yeah.
So it's 2 separate things.
So FODMAP. So it's about carbohydrates. So fermentable, oligosaccharides, the D is disaccharides, the M is monosaccharides, the A is for the word and P is for polyols. So these are carbohydrates that end in OL, so like mannitol, xylitol, sorbitol, which normally we like polys.
Usually something with poly in it is good, like talking with dogs, but not this case.
So often it's artificial sweeteners. They sometimes occur in natural plant-based foods, but mostly artificial sweeteners.
And the whole process of fermentation it's an anaerobic process. So in the absence of oxygen, it's a way of getting energy out of the glucose molecules. Very inefficient. I mean, normally if you take a glucose molecule, you get like 30 or 32 ATPs, which are the currency of energy, ACP, out of it. If you do it with like respiration or with oxygen present, if you do it with fermentation, you know how many you get ATPs out of that glucose?
I think it's like 2.
2.
Yeah.
2.
Did you think I was going to know that answer?
I had an inkling that you'd remember that number from 50 years ago. Yeah, it is 2. So it's really, really inefficient. But that's the process. But the other good thing about fermentation is how we get red wine.
Right, and so when things get broken down, people are like, well, wait, I thought we said fermentation is good. Aren't you guys telling us to eat like fermented foods and that it's good for our microbiome and all that stuff?
Oh, plus it gives off carbon dioxide.
So so this is what happens. So gas is created when you break down these products in the FODMAP group. So that leads to good things like butyrate, pyruvate, and propionate, which short-chain free fatty acids that have a lot of good functions, but these things are not digested very well. They draw in a lot of extra fluid, which can lead to the diarrhea. The gas that's created, whether it's carbon dioxide or methane, can lead to distension. And interestingly, our bowels are very insensitive to like cut. If you took a knife, like somehow if you're awake and someone cut your bowel in front of you, I know it's a weird situation, but you would not have pain. But if we filled that same bowel with gas, distension, whether it's fluid or gas, that is uncomfortable. And there are some people that are very, very sensitive, and that's likely this group. So when it distends, this causes a lot of pain and a lot of bloating.
And you do get pain from the structures around your bowel.
Yes.
That's for sure. The peritoneum hurts a lot. I can vouch for that. So, all right. So that's the deal with what FODMAP stands for.
Right. Happened in a place called Monash in near Melbourne, where they started about 20 years ago. They identified these foods, gave this acronym, and what they found is that people that eliminate or reduce their FODMAPs can have like a 50 to 80% improvement in their IBS symptoms, which for a dietary intervention is pretty impressive.
That is a lot.
Right?
And what else is impressive is that we learned about a lot of stuff that's happening down under from the people down under.
That's such low-hanging fruit and hopefully not something that will lead to IBS.
No. So that is a massive effect size for a dietary change.
Right. So what does this mean? Does this mean everything on the FODMAPs list? So these are really common foods. So
healthy foods.
So yes, there's a lot of people like, wait a second, I thought plants were good for me. So things like
beans and lentils.
Beans, lentils, garlic, onions. Under the fruit side, like apples, pears, mangoes. So it doesn't mean that all of these foods are bad for you. That's the first thing. And everybody with IBS is actually very different because of potentially your hypersensitivity to the stretching, your own unique microbiome, your own unique gut-brain axis kind of situation. So everyone's a little bit different. So the principle of this is not to remove these foods forever.
Right.
What's the principle?
The principle is to remove the foods, reintroduce them to find out which ones are affecting you in what way, and find out your tolerable level. So it's like temporary elimination, then reintroduction to figure out what you can tolerate, what upsets you more, and how much of a certain thing you can have. And the only way to really do that is it's sort of like a mini scientific study.
100%.
You're trying to get rid of all the variables and then look at the variables one by one to see how they affect you.
And because it's an N of one, it's just you. That's also why it can't be applied to everyone. You can't say, well, listen, I have apples and I don't have garlic, so that's what you should do. Well, no. So you remove them all. Then you slowly reintroduce them. Usually you eliminate them for a couple of weeks, have your body time to kind of reset, and then slowly introduce one at a time so that you know which one is having the effect. The goal is that you don't have to eliminate all of these forever. And the other thing is that you can be eating a totally healthy diet that's all full of real healthy foods that is hurting you, is making your life inconvenient, making you uncomfortable unnecessarily.
Making your bowels irritable.
Right.
So you want it, the idea here is that you'll be able to not go on a diet, but change your diet so that you're more comfortable.
Right. And that's why we'll provide a link to actually maybe a list of potentially FODMAP-y kind of foods. And then you can look at them and say, well, you know what, it's funny now that you say that, when I do eat this, I do get this. Oh, another one is obviously it's dairy, right?
So lactose.
Lactose intolerant people, right?
That's
so you're like, every time I have ice cream, I love ice cream. I love going wherever, whether it's here in Ontario, whether it's Dairy Queen or Kawartha or Baskin Robbins, whatever. And you're like, oh, I love it, but then afterwards I don't love it.
That's probably the lactose, and that's a perfect example of a FODMAPable.
I thought it was a good example.
Probably one of the most common.
Very, very common.
So, can you try this at home, basically?
You 100% could try this at home. And if you have these symptoms, if you say like, you know what, I get bloating, I get pain, I have changes in my bowel habits, maybe you didn't even know, congratulations, you have irritable bowel syndrome. The good news is it's not dangerous. My kids hate, and my wife too, they hate when I say this because they'll be like, oh, I got this. I'm like, oh, good news, it's not dangerous. They're like, you're minimizing my symptoms.
That's right. But it's like my wife said, when she says something, I'm supposed to say, do you want comfort or solutions? Sometimes we just want comfort, right?
I know. I feel like as men, we're historically wired to provide solutions.
That's what you say. When someone says, do you want comfort or solutions, then your knee-jerk reaction is say, okay, call me when you want solutions. But that's not the right answer. That is not the right answer.
That's horrible. So what I'd say is, if you have these symptoms, consider a FODMAP type strategy, identify the offenders, and then ultimately still, you get to decide if you're like, you know what, I don't even care. I want the ice cream. It's summer, I want to have a cone or whatever, then do it. Just be prepared and know that that's the cause. And also know that it's not doing your colon harm.
Maybe sit on the toilet while you have the ice cream.
But we thought it was important because it's so common. B, it's not dangerous. We want people to know that. And C, we want people to have some strategies that maybe help. And it's not just the diet part, but there are lots of other strategies. Some people, ironically, do include fiber as part of the treatment.
Yeah.
There's some cognitive behavioral therapy stuff to reduce your stress because that is a very real, measurable toll on your colon. So there's lots of things that you can do. Talk to your doctor, talk to your gastroenterologist, talk to your dietitian.
And you've probably done this already. I bet you
have.
90% of you leave a comment without even knowing what FODMAP is. You've probably identified through your life what foods upset you and what don't. And you say, I can't eat that. I know.
You say no to the chili before the night of the party because you feel uncomfortable and your bowels change, whatever. Yeah.
Chili's a good one though.
Chili's, you mean like tastes good?
Yeah, good. It's fun to eat, but boy, it gets you. It'll get you later. Especially it's spicy
It'll
stuff.
get you. If you like this video, please like it. Please share your experience with your IBS, with things that you've done to help it, because you'll help a lot of other people. And share it with someone maybe struggling with this kind of stuff.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Remember, you are in charge of your own health and your own bowels.
We'll see you next time.